Hey there everyone, it's the Gare Bear here like always, and today I'm inside the engine compartment in the 1977 Cadillac Eldorado. And I mentioned a couple videos ago that while I was driving back home, the Eldorado kind of had some issues. Like I said before, the AC stopped working, and then the power steering stopped working, and then the brakes stopped working. It was all because of a broken belt. So today we're going to go ahead and finally dive in and fix the belts and see what's going on. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start on this project. Okay, so before we go ahead and dive into this, let's go over the parts list. So the first thing you're obviously going to need is that belt right there. It's the AC and power steering belt for the 77 Eldorado. That'll vary depending on the car that you're working on. And then for this car, I needed both a 9/16 wrench as well as a 1/2" wrench. And then I also used this 9/16 socket with the socket wrench, and that is helpful in getting in here, which I'll go over later, because it's kind of deeper in with a lot of stuff in the way, so using a regular wrench wouldn't really cut it. So having that extension is really helpful. And then I can go ahead and use this breaker bar as well with the socket wrench, just to help give me a little bit more leverage because some of these bolts are a bit tight. So yeah, this is all the things you're going to need for this project. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, and I forgot one. That flathead screwdriver right there, that's just going to be to help give me leverage when it comes to tightening everything up and kind of pulling all of the pulleys and getting the belts nice and snug. So that's going to help give me leverage so I can go ahead and pry against things as I'm adjusting them on these swings here. You can kind of see how that comes back and forth like so. And so when I have the belt on here, I'll be able to kind of put that screwdriver in this hole here and help kind of pry it back as I'm tightening it to keep everything nice and snug. So that might be a little small for me. I might end up having to get a bigger one, but that's what I've got for right now, and that's what it's for. All right, so the first thing you guys need to do, if you haven't done so already, let's go ahead and remove this old broken belt out of the engine compartment, get that out of the way, and then we need to go ahead and go around and loosen up all of the other pulleys and go ahead and remove, or not necessarily remove, but just take off of all the pulleys any belts that are going to be in your way for putting on the belt that you're replacing. So this belt is the furthest back, so the other two belts that are in the engine with this one, we need to take them off the pulleys, and they can just kind of hang out around the fan. That's fine, because we can go ahead and slip this belt over those guys once they're off of their pulleys. So let's go ahead and loosen up all the bolts on this car now. All right, the next belt up is going to be that one right there. So the middle one. So if we come down here, the alternator's there, and underneath that you can kind of see, let's go ahead and look at all the pulleys real quick. So the alternator belt has that pulley, it goes to the fan. The second belt goes to the fan, and then comes over down to, let's see, this is hard to show you guys. Yeah, so that second belt has that pulley, the fan, and then it goes down, down in there. So it's this pulley right here on this side, that's where you can adjust the tension. So if we come down below, you'll see it has one bolt, and it is right in here. So if you go ahead and loosen that up, it is another slide bolt. So just go ahead and loosen it up, and then once again, just like we did with the alternator, just push that forward once you loosen it up, and it will take all the tension off of that second belt and allow you to slip it off and out of your way. Then we can move on to the belt in question. So moving along to the third and final belt, this is the one that powers, this is powering the AC, and then I guess that's power steering or the brakes or something. It affected both, so it's one of those. And then it goes down, down to that last pulley at the bottom down there. So this one, how you adjust the tension is by moving this guy up forward or sideways, back and forth. So there's two screws. There's a slide screw or slide nut, I guess, you know, whatever. One of those slidey things I was talking about earlier. It's back here, and if you can see, it's that bolt right there. So right up in here. See where I'm pointing? There we go. So that is a slide. So you can take this and go like this. It rocks back and forth, and you can see how if you're doing that, it would relieve tension pulling it forward like that, and then you tighten it by pulling back. Now, just like the alternator, how it had a fixed bolt as well, just to keep it attached to the engine proper. If we go down here, Aha, I'm smart. I learned how to turn the flash on while I'm recording video. So we're gonna come back down in here. As you guys can see down here, look at that. It is another bolt. And actually, I'm sorry, I kind of didn't realize that until I turned this light on. That's actually not fixed. That actually is a slide bolt as well. And you can actually see, oops, sorry. There's a lot of stuff in the way. Let me get out of here. Okay, you got, oh, right here we can see. So there's that bolt there. So that's a slide bolt, and then up, oops, sorry, this is really bad camera work, guys, sorry. But up in here, that's actually the other side of the other slide bolt that you're seeing from this angle. So those are the two adjustments for this guy. And that's going to be able to tighten and loosen your third belt. So on this problem I had, that belt was already broken and off, but I needed to go ahead and loosen it up so I could put the new belt on. So once you have all that stuff loosened, you are ready to install your new belt. Okay, so before we start installing our new belt, let's go ahead and give the pulleys a little wipe down. So I'm going to switch hands. Because, you know, there's a little bit of debris here in the pulleys. I think when that belt like totally shredded up, it kind of spit little rubber bits all over the place. So we don't want to have any debris in there. So just kind of take something, it could be a clean rag or a paper towel or something that's not going to leave any residue. Don't go getting some like greasy old rag out of your garage hamper or whatever. But just get any like rough debris out of here, kind of going around. And doing that to all of them, and maybe I might blow it out a little bit because leaving a little bit debris. But yeah, so just go ahead and clean that off so your belts have a nice clean area to be starting off. One thing I did notice kind of looking through all this stuff, I was trying to find a cause for what was causing my belt to prematurely go bad. And one thing I did notice was inside here, I don't know if you guys can see, but the metal right there on that pulley is a little rough on that inner edge where that's the groove where the belt sits. That might very well be a good cause, kind of rubbing against the side of the belt, causing it to be a nice splitting point. So that's something I'm definitely going to have my dad look at. I don't really know enough to be able to judge if that's a problem or not, but I'm kind of leaning towards it being a yes, a big problem. So maybe we'll end up replacing that or kind of doing something to make that a little smoother. But I'm just going to go ahead and replace the belt for now, just so the car is runnable, drivable. And we'll go ahead and revisit that in the future. Okay, new camera angle in the hopes of alleviating some of the shaking from my iPhone video. But anyhow, I went ahead and kind of finished cleaning off all the pulleys for the AC and power steering belt, kind of assembly there. And yeah, definitely that's the only pulley that has kind of like cut-in ridges on the sides of the pulley. And so that's really kind of making me definitely still lean towards the fact that I think that might be causing that side abrasion on the belt, because you kind of see a little extra wear on the side of the belt where it was kind of wearing, and then you can tell it just totally split at one point when it stopped working. And yeah, so I definitely think that's the problem, but I'm not really exactly sure still because it's kind of up in the air. So definitely leave comments below on what you guys think it could be. I'm definitely all ears because I do need some help figuring this out, because I don't want this to happen again down the road. So yeah, I think that is the issue. Alrighty, so now we get to the fun part where we get to put the car back together. So we're gonna go ahead and take our new belt and go ahead and install it now. So when it comes to installing the new belt, there's a couple of things you might be wondering, how am I gonna do this? The first problems that we would have come across was the fact that the other two belts were in the way. We've already alleviated that issue by removing them from their pulleys. But the other thing that's in the way is this fan. So what we're going to end up doing is fishing the new belt around the fan. So we'll start off by putting the belt in front of the fan blade, so we'll just put it back in there, and then we'll go ahead and open it all the way up so it's a nice big circle, and put it over the blades. We can kind of go one by one if the belt isn't big enough. But we're just going to go ahead and get it over the fan, and then we're going to go ahead and install this belt first because it is the furthest one back. All the other belts will go on in front of it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I went ahead and fed the belt over the fan like I just described, and I actually just went ahead and put it on, and this was a total pain in the butt. You can see that is the first belt, and you can kind of see where it goes down there, over this pulley on top, and then over this pulley over here. It is really tight, so I have this thing adjusted forward to make it as loose as possible, and it was still extremely tight. What I ended up having to do was use both this screwdriver to kind of wedge up under here, as well as I just used this as kind of like a Just really, it could have been any tool, but just something else like a screwdriver to kind of be able to pry up on the belt. So I don't want to poke other things. Let me put this away. But I went on this side with it, like so, and went up and under the belt and was kind of working my way up, pulling out, trying to stretch out the belt to be able to get it to pop up onto the pulley. So yeah, that was a lot more work than it needed to be, but it is on. And as you can see, I went ahead and just put on the other belts back where they were before. So now we can go ahead and tighten everything up. And as you can probably see, sorry, this is really bad camera work today, but I'm a little sweaty, a little hot, because that was actually a lot of work trying to get that belt to go on. That took me like a solid 20 minutes. So yeah, that was a little setback, but now everything should be good to go. And now that the belt's on, it doesn't feel all that, it's not like super duper tight. It's just for some reason that one was really hard to get on. But yes, let's go ahead and tighten everything back up, and then we can start the car and hopefully it runs perfectly. Okay, so I just wrapped up installing all the belts and tightening everything up in the engine compartment. And I went ahead and started up the car, and I heard a really loud squeaking noise, which I would assume would just be like a loose belt, so maybe I missed tightening something. However, I did feel that the new belt was really, really hot. The other ones were not. So I'm going to start it back up quickly and then try to see what's going on. Perhaps, I don't know, I feel like something might not be moving as smoothly as it should be. So let's go ahead and check this out. Okay, so I'm thinking because that belt that I just replaced is running a little hot and it's squealing, it's probably still too loose. So I think the thing I'm going to really have to do just to fix this is go ahead and try to tighten it up a little bit more. I'll try to find a bigger screwdriver or something that I can pry even harder with to keep it tight while I go ahead and use a wrench to go ahead and tighten the bolt that holds it on. And hopefully that will solve this issue.